The world you are living in is not fair. It never was. And if you wait for fairness, you will wait forever. So this is your wake-up call. You must become stronger than the system that tries to control you. Look around. The rules bend for the powerful. The game favors those who already know how to play. But you have something they do not. The ability to grow, to learn, to become unstoppable. Do not wait for fairness. Build strength, build wisdom, build a mindset so sharp that no one can shake you. Most people follow orders without thinking. They accept whatever they are told. And that is exactly why they lose. They drift through life half awake, half aware, half alive. They hear instructions and follow them as if their future depends on obedience instead of understanding. But you are not most people. You are not here to move blindly. Think for yourself. Question everything. If something feels wrong, ask why. Challenge it. The strongest people are the ones who refuse to sleepwalk through life. They stay alert. They stay aware. They notice what others ignore. They understand what others overlook. And that awareness becomes their power. The truth is simple. The world does not reward the quiet follower. It rewards the person who pays attention, the person who sees beyond the surface, the person who is not afraid to think independently. Because so much of life is designed to nudge you into compliance, to make you comfortable with not asking questions, to make you believe that things are the way they are simply because they must be. But the moment you start questioning, the moment you start thinking for yourself, you begin to understand how much control you actually have. You begin to see how much of your life is shaped not by fate, not by luck, but by the choices you make with your eyes open. And you must understand something else. In this world, you either learn the game or you get played by it. There is no middle ground. The game is always running. The game is always active. The game does not pause for you to catch up. Money flows whether you understand it or not. Opportunities move whether you chase them or not. Systems continue functioning whether you learn them or remain ignorant. The people who win are not always the most talented or the most deserving. They are the ones who understand the rules. They study how things work. They observe patterns. They analyze outcomes. They learn what others avoid learning. And because of that, they rise while others remain stuck. Knowledge is the difference between being controlled and being free. When you learn how money actually works, you stop falling into financial traps. When you learn how business works, you stop being taken advantage of by people who count on your lack of understanding. When you learn how systems operate, you stop being a target of those systems. Knowledge is not just power. Knowledge is protection. Knowledge is leverage. Knowledge is transformation. It turns fear into confidence. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns helplessness into control. The moment you choose to learn, you choose to step into your own strength. But learning alone is not enough. There comes a moment where knowledge must meet courage, and courage is something the world rarely sees anymore. Courage is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is not reckless. Courage is the quiet decision to stand tall when everything around you pushes you to kneel. It is the decision to speak the truth even when silence would be easier. It is choosing what is right, when what is convenient is right there within reach. Courage requires sacrifice. Courage requires risk. Courage requires the willingness to step into uncertainty, knowing that comfort is the enemy of growth. Most people avoid courage because they fear consequences. They fear what they might lose. They fear who might judge them. They fear stepping into the unknown. But the people who create change in their own lives are the ones who choose courage over comfort. They understand that the cost of staying silent is far greater than the cost of speaking up. They realize that the cost of staying small is far greater than the cost of taking risks. They know that nothing great has ever been built by someone who played safe their entire life. And when courage meets integrity, something unshakable is formed. Integrity is not weakness. Integrity is not softness. Integrity is not naive idealism. Integrity is long-term power. Integrity is the foundation that holds your entire life together. People who chase shortcuts crumble. People who lie eventually become trapped in their own lies. People who cheat eventually lose the trust that gave them opportunity in the first place. Success built without integrity always collapses, even if it stands tall for a while. You build something stronger by doing things the right way. You build something lasting by respecting your own principles. You build something meaningful by choosing character over convenience. Integrity is the silent strength that keeps you from falling apart when life tests you. It is the anchor that keeps your soul steady when temptation tries to pull you off course. It is the force that allows you to trust yourself. And in a world full of broken values, being a person with integrity gives you an advantage that cannot be bought, copied, or stolen. Still, even integrity is not enough unless you learn to think strategically. Life is not just about working hard. Hard work without direction becomes exhaustion. Hard work without understanding becomes frustration. Hard work without strategy becomes waste. You need to learn to think, adapt, adjust, and plan. Strategy is not manipulation. Strategy is clarity. It is intelligence in action. It is the ability to see the long-term consequence of short-term decisions. It is the ability to step back and evaluate your path instead of rushing forward blindly. People who strategize do not waste effort. They do not waste time. They do not waste opportunities. They use their energy wisely. They make deliberate decisions. They understand that winning is not about moving the fastest, but moving with intention. Strategy allows you to create your life instead of reacting to it. It allows you to shape your future instead of depending on luck. It allows you to build something that lasts instead of something that collapses. Your mind is your strongest advantage if you learn to use it, sharpen it, trust it, and train it. But even the sharpest mind is vulnerable if it is not protected, and protection begins with awareness. Too many people walk into traps because they trust blindly. They sign things they do not read. They accept terms they do not understand. They rely on people they barely know. They give responsibility for their future to those who have no obligation to protect it. You must take ownership. You must take responsibility. You must protect your time, your money, your energy, your opportunities, and your choices. You must pay attention to the details that others ignore. Protection is not paranoia. Protection is wisdom. Protection means understanding the consequences of every decision before you make it. Protection means refusing to be careless with your own future. When you stay informed, when you stay aware, when you stay curious, you create armor around your life that no one can easily break. And once you understand these things, you begin to transform into someone who cannot be manipulated. Manipulation only works on people who do not understand themselves. Manipulation only works on people who seek validation. Manipulation only works on people who rely on others to think for them. But when you strengthen your mind, when you build courage, when you develop integrity, when you educate yourself, you become immune to the tactics that trap most people. You stop falling for empty promises. You stop believing false narratives. You stop bending to pressure. You stop letting other people control your choices. You become centered. You become grounded. You become someone who sees through deception before it even starts. That is the beginning of true freedom. Freedom does not come from luck. Freedom does not come from comfort. Freedom comes from the mind. The more you learn, the more you understand, the more skills you acquire, the more power you gain over your own life. Education is not school. Education is self-investment. Education is reading, questioning, practicing, failing, learning, growing. Every piece of knowledge you gain removes another chain. Every skill you learn opens another path. Every lesson you absorb strengthens your independence. And even though the world has darkness, corruption, unfairness, and broken systems, you are not meant to be swallowed by those shadows. You are meant to rise above them. You do not become stronger by becoming like the darkness. You become stronger by choosing integrity. You rise by choosing discipline. You grow by choosing awareness. You ascend by choosing courage. The world may not be fair, but you can become someone. It cannot break, cannot silence, cannot manipulate, and cannot control. Your success becomes your answer. Your strength becomes your rebellion. Your discipline becomes your shield. Your knowledge becomes your weapon. This is the path upward, and this is only the beginning. And when you begin to question, when you begin to see through the surface of things, something powerful happens inside you. You start noticing patterns that others ignore. You start recognizing the difference between what people say and what they truly mean. You start understanding how the world really moves. That awareness is the beginning of strength. And once it begins, it does not stop. It grows, it sharpens, it transforms you into someone who cannot be easily fooled or pushed aside. Because the more you learn, the more you realize that nothing around you is random. Every opportunity, every loss, every advantage someone else has was created through knowledge and preparation. People succeed not because they are chosen, but because they understand the systems that everyone else overlooks. And the greatest mistake you could ever make is assuming that life will treat you well simply because you are a good person. That is not how the world works. The world rewards those who understand how to navigate it. The world opens doors to those who have taken the time to study its structure. This is why learning becomes your greatest advantage. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you make decisions. It changes the way you protect your future. The moment you decide to educate yourself beyond the basics that everyone else is satisfied with, you step into a different league. You stop moving blindly. You stop accepting whatever is handed to you. You stop giving away your power without realizing it. Knowledge turns you from someone who is controlled into someone who controls their own direction. And the deeper you go into learning, the more confidence you build. Not the loud, empty confidence that fades when challenges appear, but the quiet, steady confidence that comes from understanding. When you know how money works, you become harder to deceive. When you understand contracts, you become harder to trap. When you study strategy, you become harder to manipulate. When you invest in your mind, you become someone who cannot be replaced, ignored, or underestimated. But with knowledge comes responsibility. You cannot learn how the world works and then continue living like you are powerless. You cannot open your eyes to reality and then pretend not to see it. Awareness demands courage. It demands action. It demands that you choose the harder path, the one most people avoid. And that path is the path of integrity. Integrity is not about being perfect. It is about standing for something. It is about refusing to compromise your values for temporary gain. It is about looking at what others do to win and deciding that you will win differently. Most people do not understand the strength it takes to stay honest in a dishonest world. They think integrity is soft. They think it is idealistic. They think it is unnecessary. But the truth is, integrity is the only thing that makes your success worth anything. Without it, everything you build is fragile. A person who cheats their way to the top is never truly at the top. They live in fear. Fear of being exposed. Fear of losing what they didn't truly earn. Fear of the truth catching up. But a person who rises with integrity stands on solid ground. Nothing can be taken from them because everything they have was built with discipline and intention. You do not need shortcuts. You do not need manipulation. You do not need deceit. Real power comes from doing things the right way, even when the wrong way seems easier. And when you combine integrity with strategy, that is when you become unstoppable. Because strategy is not exclusive to the corrupt. Strategy is neutral. It is simply the ability to think beyond the moment, to plan ahead, to see consequences before they arrive. Those who use strategy to harm others only prove how effective strategy can be. But when you use strategy to protect yourself, to grow your life, to build something meaningful, you are using it in its highest form. You must learn to think several moves ahead, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Every decision has a ripple. Every choice has an outcome. People who rise are not lucky, they are prepared. They anticipate problems before they appear. They study the people they work with. They understand the environment they are in. They pay attention to details that others ignore. This level of awareness allows you to make choices that move your life forward instead of sideways. But strategy alone is not enough. You must also protect yourself. Not everyone you meet will have good intentions. Not every offer is an opportunity. Not every agreement is harmless. Most people get trapped because they want to believe the best in everyone. And while kindness is a strength, unguarded trust is a weakness. You do not owe blind trust to anyone. You owe caution to yourself. You owe protection to your goals. You owe awareness to your future. Protecting yourself does not make you cold. It makes you smart. It means reading what you sign. It means understanding the terms of any agreement. It means asking questions even if someone is annoyed by it. It means never giving anyone the chance to take advantage of your silence. People do not fall into bad situations by accident. They fall because they were not informed. Protect yourself by becoming informed. Protect yourself by paying attention. Protect yourself by valuing your own life enough to guard it. As you grow, something else begins to shift. People who once tried to influence you, control you, or manipulate you start to lose their power because you can see their intentions, you can read their patterns. You can sense when something feels off. You can feel when someone's words do not match their actions. This ability makes you immune to manipulation, and that immunity is one of the greatest freedoms a person can ever achieve. A manipulated mind is not free. A controlled mind cannot think clearly. A deceived mind cannot choose its own path. But a mind that understands, questions, and analyzes cannot be pushed into anything against its will. That is why you must keep sharpening your awareness. The world will always have people who try to take advantage of others, but they cannot take advantage of you if you see them clearly. And once you reach that point, once your mind starts operating with clarity and strength, you begin to understand what freedom truly feels like. Freedom is not just the ability to move. Freedom is the ability to choose. Freedom is the ability to think for yourself. Freedom is the ability to protect your future. Freedom is the ability to rise above the traps that hold other people down. Freedom begins in the mind long before it appears in your life. The more you educate yourself, the more doors you unlock. Every skill you learn becomes a tool. Every lesson becomes a shield. Every moment spent growing becomes an investment, and this investment pays the highest returns. Because it gives you something no one can take away. Independence. Not just financial independence, but mental independence, emotional independence, strategic independence. The kind of independence that changes the entire direction of your life. And this is how you rise above the darkness that surrounds so many people. Not by pretending the world is perfect, but by strengthening yourself so deeply that the world can no longer control you. You rise by choosing discipline over comfort. You rise by choosing learning over ignorance. You rise by choosing courage over silence. You rise by choosing integrity over shortcuts. You rise by becoming someone the world cannot shake, cannot break, and cannot manipulate. You do not belong to the shadows that others created. You are meant to grow beyond them. You are meant to build a life that reflects your clarity, your strength, your values, and your discipline. That is the path you are on now, and if you continue, nothing will be out of reach. And as you continue to rise, something else begins to change within you. You start noticing the difference between the person you were and the person you are becoming. You start realizing that strength is not just about surviving the world. It is about understanding it, navigating it, and shaping your own path with intention. Life stops feeling like a series of random events and starts looking like a landscape you can move through with strategy and purpose. This is the transformation that happens when you take your mind seriously. Most people never reach this stage. They let life happen to them. They move through their days reacting, not deciding. They follow routines they never questioned. They accept beliefs they never examined. They listen to voices that never wanted them to think for themselves. But you are not most people. You are choosing a different path, a different level of awareness, a different identity. You are choosing to grow into someone capable of seeing beyond the surface of everything around you, because the world is full of illusions, appearances designed to distract you, promises designed to mislead you, systems designed to benefit those who understand them and overwhelm those who don't. But once you start seeing through these illusions, once you start recognizing the hidden structures behind the scenes, the world stops being intimidating. It becomes readable, predictable, manageable. You start seeing motives behind actions. You start noticing patterns behind decisions. You start recognizing opportunities hidden in places most people overlook. This clarity is not accidental. It is earned through awareness, reflection, and the refusal to remain blind. And with that clarity comes responsibility. Because once you see the truth, you cannot pretend you don't. Once you recognize the patterns, you cannot claim ignorance. Once you understand how life works, you cannot go back to drifting. You must act with intention. You must choose with purpose. You must decide who you are going to become and what you are going to build. Growth is not just about acquiring information. It is about applying it, using it, living by it. And that is where discipline enters your story. Discipline is the force that turns knowledge into progress. Without discipline, even the greatest ambitions collapse. Without discipline, even the smartest person remains stagnant. Discipline is what allows you to take control of your time, your habits, your energy, and your direction. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about choosing what matters even when it is not easy. It is about being loyal to your future self. The stronger your discipline becomes, the more power you gain over your own life. And this power is not just external, it is internal. It shapes the way you think. It shapes the way you face challenges. It shapes the way you respond to difficulty. Life will never remove obstacles from your path, but discipline ensures that obstacles no longer have the ability to stop you. A disciplined mind sees problems as puzzles, not threats. A disciplined mindset sees setbacks as lessons, not failures. A disciplined person understands that growth happens through discomfort, not convenience. There will be moments when you feel tired, moments when doubt whispers, moments when you question whether the effort is worth it. But those moments are where the greatest transformations begin. Anyone can stay motivated when things are easy. True strength is built in the moments when your motivation fades but your purpose remains. That is when you choose to continue. That is when you choose to stay committed. That is when you choose to rise above your limitations. This is also when courage becomes essential. Courage is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not always look heroic. Sometimes courage is simply choosing to move forward when fear is asking you to stop. Sometimes it is choosing to speak when silence feels safer. Sometimes it is choosing to walk away from something familiar in order to build something better. Sometimes it is choosing to trust yourself when the world doubts you. Courage is the quiet decision to stay true to your path even when no one is watching. And courage becomes even more powerful when it is paired with integrity. Because integrity protects your future from the consequences of shortcuts. It protects your character from the influence of corruption. It protects your identity from being shaped by temptation or pressure. When you choose to live with integrity, you choose a path that may take longer, but leads to a destination that is solid, honorable, and lasting. Integrity builds a reputation that cannot be purchased. It builds trust that cannot be faked. It builds strength that cannot be stolen. But integrity does not survive without awareness. You must be aware of the choices you make, aware of the people you allow into your life, aware of the opportunities you pursue and the ones you reject. Awareness gives you the wisdom to distinguish between what is right and what is merely convenient. Awareness gives you the ability to recognize when something feels off. It gives you the strength to walk away even when you are tempted to stay. Awareness is your guide, your compass, your protector. And when these qualities come together, awareness, discipline, courage, integrity, they shape you into someone who cannot be easily influenced or controlled. Someone who stands strong even in environments designed to weaken you. Someone who chooses their own path instead of allowing the world to choose it for them. Someone who understands that every action, every thought, every decision lays a brick in the foundation of the future you are building. That foundation must be strong, because life will test it. Not once, but many times. You will face people who underestimate you. You will face situations that challenge your patience. You will face moments that tempt you to compromise. You will face opportunities that look attractive but carry hidden costs. And in all these moments, the strength you developed will be the difference between standing firm and falling apart. This strength draws from your mind. Your greatest tool, your greatest asset, your greatest weapon. Your mind determines whether you stay trapped or break free. Whether you stay small or grow beyond measure, whether you are manipulated by the world or guided by your own clarity, your mind is the architect of your future, and every day you are shaping it. Strengthen it, and you will strengthen everything else. Ignore it, and you will remain vulnerable in ways you cannot see until it is too late. Strengthening your mind requires effort. It requires learning. It requires reading, studying, asking questions, observing the world with curiosity instead of assumption. It requires choosing growth over comfort. It requires embracing challenges instead of avoiding them. Every time you push your mind to understand something new, you evolve. Every time you master a skill, you expand your possibilities. Every time you deepen your understanding, you gain a level of independence that no one can take from you. And as your mind expands, so does your freedom. Not just physical freedom, but mental freedom. The freedom to think without fear. The freedom to choose without pressure. The freedom to create your own opportunities. The freedom to rise above manipulation, intimidation, and ignorance. Knowledge is not just power. Knowledge is liberation. Knowledge is the key that unlocks every door the world once tried to keep shut. But the world will not simply make room for you because you gained knowledge. You must take your place. You must step into the arena with confidence. You must make moves that reflect your strength. You must build habits that elevate your life. You must follow through on the choices that align with your values and your vision. Growth is not a single decision. It is a